Good morning and welcome to Vlogmas Day 6. As you can see, we have once again woken up to a winter wonderland, and I love it. Just enough snow to be pretty, not enough to be a problem. I am planning to go out for a walk in the snow this morning, but first I'm going to have a cup of tea and do a little bit of knitting. It has pretty well stopped snowing, so I decided if I was going to get a walk in before it all melted, I'd better get going. So I put aside my second cup of tea and got dressed and ready to go. Actually wearing my mittens for the first time, so hopefully they will keep my hands nice and warm. I hope you enjoyed going on my walk with me. I love snow, and we don't get it where I live very often. So whenever we do, I really love to get out in it, especially if it's not super windy or super cold. I'm going to sit down now and work on my daughter-in-law's shawl for a little bit. But before I do, I thought I would open today's Advent. So day 6. The colorway is Hearth, so I am imagining some warm reds and golds. Let's find out. Yes, this definitely looks very hearth-like. You can really see the sparkle in it today. It's going to be really pretty made up. Okay, I've just made a new cup of tea and I'm going to sit down and do that knitting. I am also going to be doing some weaving this afternoon, or at least I hope I get to the weaving part. I still have to finish setting up my loom, and today's a great day because of the snow, because it makes it much brighter in here, and I'm working with that black yarn. So I think I'll probably try and get another repeat done in the shawl, and then I'm going to move over to the loom. I'll bring you with me when I do. As planned, I put another edging repeat into Stephanie's shawl. I now have done 15 out of 24 lace repeats, and when I'm done, I will pick up along this top edge of the shawl and knit the main body. So I'm going to put this away for now and turn to my loom. I've moved it over closer to the window so I would have better light. So the other day you saw me warping my loom, and when Cameron got home, I got him to hold on to this end of the warp nice and tightly while I wound it onto the back beam of the loom. Before I can weave, however, I have to finish prepping the loom. So if you look here at the heddle, you will see that there are 2 strands of yarn in each of these slots. And if you look carefully, you'll see that there are holes in all of these. So what I have to do is take one of these strands and thread it through the slot here, or the hole here. And this is what creates the shed for weaving, where you put your shuttle through. So you can see I've done all of these ones so far. So that's the top part. and then every second one remains in the slots. And you will manipulate this heddle, bringing it up and down in order to weave. So I've got to finish up these, and then I think it'll be time to get some lunch. It only took me a few minutes to finish threading the loom, so I decided to go ahead and start tying all the groups of threads to the front of the loom. So as you can see, I'm just about done. I only have a couple more groups to go. So for the first time around, I just tie them up with a knot, and I wrap the thread twice around before pulling it tight. And then once they're all done, I'll go through and I'll start here, and usually I work back and forth between the ends, and I will tighten each group up as much as I can and tie it into a bow. And I will keep tying and retying until all the threads are nice and tight and nice and even. So before I do that, I'm definitely getting some lunch because it can be a little bit of a picky process. So I'll just finish tying these couple ones, and then I'm going to have some lunch. Okay, you can see now I've tied up all of my ends, and I've run my hand across the warp just to see if there are any areas that are noticeably looser than others. You want to try and have the same taut tension across the whole width of your warp. Now I'm ready to weave. But before I can start using the yarn that I'm going to use for my scarf, I'm going to do something called spreading the warp, and I'm going to weave in a few ends of scrap yarn just to fill in these gaps that are created by tying the knots, and just to start out with a nice straight edge for my weaving. So I can't do that while I'm holding the camera, so I'll do that and show you what it looks like after it's done. So there, you can see I have my scrap yarn all woven in, so I have a nice even warp to start with, and it's also nice and straight. I have left a fair bit of space between my ties and the beginning of my weaving because I want to make sure I have enough for fringe. So now I'm just going to roll this part onto the front of the loom so that I have more space between here and the heddle. And I'm going to start weaving. I have set up my aught light, so hopefully, even though I may look a little bit dark on screen, you'll have a good view of the loom. I think the lighting is going to keep shifting. Not much I can do about that. So I'm just going to start weaving in the first few ends. So I'm going to bring my shuttle into the up position, and you can see this creates a shed for my shuttle to go through. So once again, this is the yarn that I'm going to be weaving with. And this is the moment of truth. This is when you get to see whether your plans are good or not so good. First thing I have to do is find the end. There we go. So I'm going to put this through, and I'm going to just weave in a little bit of the end so that I'll catch it. So I'm going to just bring it around the edge, bring it a few inches, and then I usually just poke it through the other side. I'm going to take my heddle, bring it down. So now I'm going to put my loom, my heddle, I should say, in the down position, and I'm going to bring my yarn back the other way. Position it on the warp, bring that forward, put my loom, or I keep saying my loom, but put my heddle in the up position, and I'll go back again this way. Down position, cross, position and across. And I'm just putting this in the middle to rest. So that's all there is to it. You just repeat that step over and over and over again until you get it as long as you want it. So I'll show you a quick overhead view. I'll weave a little bit more and then I'll show you an overhead view of what it looks like so you can get a sense of how this scarf is gonna go. Just from the little bit of weaving I've done so far, I can see that the yarn is going to create a striping effect. I think the colors look really pretty together, but I am not entirely happy with my edges. So I'm actually going to take back this initial bit of weaving and redo it. It always takes me a little while to get my tension right. But I have the new Outlander book downloaded on Audible and a hot cup of tea, and so I'm going to settle in and weave for a while. There, I feel better about the edges, but they're never good enough to suit me. It's about 4:15, so it seems like a good time to sign off for the day. But before I do, I want to leave you with something good. And my something good for day 6 is feeding the birds. Now, if you've been watching my podcast for a while, you know that I like to feed the birds all year round. But I especially enjoy it at this time of year, particularly when the weather is bad. I guess I have some sense of protectiveness over them, and I like to think that I play some small part in getting them through a wintry day. And they give me plenty of entertainment in return. I never get tired of watching the pecking order in action, watching them fight over their place on the feeder or over a seed or a peanut on the ground. I have filmed some clips throughout the day, and so I hope you enjoy them as I close out Vlogmas Day 6. I will see you again tomorrow for Day 7. Have a good night. Bye.